All right, Brandon, thanks for being here and doing this with me. This is fun, and these chairs, they couldn't be more appropriate for this. They hooked us up, right?
Great chairs.
This is plenty. I like this. So we're just going to be relaxed about this. You know, I really want to know, about your operations.
Okay.
And what it means to be someone in charge of such an amazing organization, such an amazing movement. Really, I think is a good word. So I need to know about your openness as a person compared to the openness that you see people give you.
Right.
Because, which one really came first? Do you find yourself being a generally open person all the time? Like that's just how you've always been grown up to? Or are you just sort of responsive to the openness other people, give you? It's a hospitality thing back and forth.
Yeah, I think, it's a little bit of both. I remember when I was first starting Humans of New York, one piece of advice I saw that really stuck with me by somebody who had already had a successful blog was, no matter how many fans you have or no matter how big your audience is, you should talk to your audience like you would talk to your best friend. And, I think that was really kind of guideposts for me of, just how to be sincere and just how to talk with somebody. Like, again, like whether it's, one person or 15 million people, just like it's somebody that you've known forever. As far as like openness, obviously going around on the streets and, stopping 10,000 people, the things that these people tell me are very personal and they're very intimate. And so, I almost view it as kind of an act of karma that when people ask me personal, intimate questions, like I owe it to that person and the world to be as open as I expect my subjects to be.
And you say, openness, intimacy, things of that nature, and you do that in New York, which is weird for a lot of people because New York doesn't carry a very open and intimate reputation, at least in the way it's presented in the media. So what about New York? You live in there, obviously. You really didn't have many choices to pick from as far as where you were going to pick this thing up.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you looked at the city and said, I think there might be something here? How did you manage around that?
Yeah, well, New York is a very special place and one that is just so dense. There's so many people gathered in such a small area. And, I didn't have a car, I didn't have any money when I started Humans of New York, so the ability just to walk through the streets of New York and be, introduced and come across so many people was an advantage in itself. And also New York is just such a diverse place. It is a place where, there's a culture of expression.
Sure.
People are encouraged to stand out and be different. And then also just diversity-wise, it's the place that so many immigrants stop on their way to the United States. So it's really a perfect place to do this kind of work,
So you encounter all these immigrants and you approach all of the people you talk to pretty much the same way as what I'm understanding, right? No matter where they're from. How long did it take you to come up with that kind of a recipe for success?
Well, the interview's been a very honed process, just through interviewing thousands of people. I've kind of learned the questions that you ask that will get somebody to, kind of share a story about themselves. But even more important than the questions you've asked, I've learned that it's about energy. Over those 10,000 people I stopped in the street, more important than learning what to say to them, it was how to say it. It's all about being very calm and being very compassionate and having a very sincere energy and not having a journalist energy, where you're kind of very framed and structured. And it took a lot of repetition and, a lot of practice to get to the point where I was comfortable enough to make other people feel comfortable. It's very easy to say, but it's very hard to do because, you have to talk to so many people before you get rid of those nerves to where you can just really be comfortable and be yourself. And, that's hopefully what I've gotten good at.
And the interaction with the immigrants here in America, was that ever the inspiration to start taking this brand internationally when you started going to other countries? What sparked that?
I don't know if it was directly the inspiration. I think that once you've done something for a while, you start to look other avenues where you can take what you've gotten good at and grow it and make it more compelling. And one of the most immediate avenues that became apparent to me was traveling, doing the exact same work I do in New York City, but just going to different countries. And it turned out, as I suspected, to just be an excellent way to provide a quick glimpse and a portrait into a country. It's just, there's no better way to travel. I just feel so lucky. There's just no better way. I can go in 4 days to a random country and stop 100 people on the streets in different neighborhoods, different areas, different towns, and ask them deep questions about their lives. And 4 days later, I can leave that country and feel that I've gotten such an intimate look into the culture of that country. Such an amazing way to travel, and I feel very blessed to be doing it.
And how do you handle, all this international success now, this local success, and you've got, what, more than 15 million people and counting now going in and out of your blog?
Right.
How have you grown into this role that you're in at this moment, and what was sort of the turning point for you when you realized, like, wow, this is getting serious?
Well, probably the turning point when I started realizing how big it was getting was when people started stopping me on the street. That's new.
Sure.
And the way I handle it, no matter how big Humans of New York gets, is that I narrow my focus. The bigger it gets, the more I try to focus on the one thing that I can control, which is going out and working every day and telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, luckily the social media platforms are so well developed that they take care of everything else. They take care of distribution, they take care of everything. All I have to do is put on my tennis shoes and go out every single day, stop several strangers on the street and go through my process and learn their stories, and everything else kind of takes care of itself. So the crazier things get around me, the more I try to narrow my focus and focus on that.
And getting recognized more and more helps with narrowing that in, right?
Well, it helps people. I've had a lot of people who wouldn't agree to let me interview them before who agree now because Humans of New York is so famous.
Wow, what's a story like that? Is there something specific that sticks out in your mind?
It happens every day. You get a very grumpy old man, and you start to ask him for his photograph, and he starts telling you no, and then you say Humans of New York, and he's like, "Whoa, didn't my grandson tell me about that?" And
right.
Like, is that you? And then
wow.
you hear, or I read about that in the Wall Street Journal. So, there's a lot of interactions like that where people who were planning on not letting me stop them and talk to them, once they heard Humans of New York, at least gave me a chance. Yeah.
So do you ever feel like you have this, I don't know if maybe power is a word you're comfortable with, or this maybe ability is a more somber word, but ability to hold this celebrity status to a degree where people begin to be more willing to assist you in your work because of who you are, not necessarily of what you do. Do you ever find there's a separation there? Does it ever make you uncomfortable?
I try. The short answer is yes. It's uncomfortable to be in the spotlight. So that's why if you kind of look at the blog, you'll notice I stay behind it as much as possible. You don't see my picture on there anywhere. I like it like that. I like to put other people and put the work out front. Humans of New York's not about Brandon Stanton.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the greatest things about it is that, there's this audience of 15 million people on social media, and it has nothing to do with me. And I love that. I love being in that position because, it's just a comfortable place to be in. That, it's not about my opinions. It's not about my philosophies. It's not what I think. And, therefore it allows me to create this work that's impacting so many people, influencing so many people, and still retain a relative degree of
privacy,
anonymity.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that's why your viewers love you so much too, just because of the way you humble yourself to your work and let the work speak for itself.
Thank you.
I think that's a rare thing, and I know Georgia State appreciates it. Georgia State students appreciate it. You're welcome. And we really enjoy you being here, Brandon. So please enjoy the rest of your stay, and I really hope you make your rounds here again at some point. We like having you around.
Thank you.
So thanks.
Thanks, Joey.